Legal Metrology Act 2009. The Legal Metrology Act 2009 is actually a act which was earlier called as Standards of Weights and Measures Act. So earlier we had the act Standards of Weights and Measures Act, but legal metrology word is an international terminology, and that is why we now call it as the Legal Metrology Act, and the act has undergone many amendments and renaming in 2009. So what is legal metrology? It is nothing but standards of weights and measures. See, now we have to measure everything. In school, everybody used to have a scale, correct? Even scale is used to measure. Or we used to check each other's height. And the more older you grow, people will be very bothered about their weight. So for everything we need to measure. If we tell that somebody is very tall, you will say how tall? How tall is that person? So you need to measure. You need to measure. You need to count what is the exact height of that person. Same way in business, the measuring tools for anything, it could be factory use, it could be retail, it could be even as simple as when you go to buy vegetables or milk. The measurement should be perfect, and there is a law on how the measurement should be done and how the measuring tools should be there. So very important for us to know, even the measuring tools which are being used has to be perfect, and the Legal Metrology Act 2009 talks about these measuring tools and also how they have to be manufactured and what all has to be disclosed according to this Legal Metrology Act. So even if you go buy a vegetable, this is the kind of measure you have. Now if suppose the bit which is over here, let us say it is 1 kg, okay, but if it is really only 800 grams, then the customer is losing. So when we manufacture this bit, we need to make sure there are some rules, there is some regulation, and that is only our Legal Metrology Act 2009. Same way, if you go to buy milk, if it is given that this is 1 liter, so it has to be actually 1 liter. What if suppose here they have made one more layer below? So this much is the loss for the customer, correct? So that is why for any measure, it could be whatever kind of measure in business, it should be as per the Legal Metrology Act. What is the objectives and reasons for this act? To establish and enforce standards of weights and measures. So this act will tell that we need to have a particular standard. Each one cannot measure however they want. Each one cannot manufacturing the measuring tools however they want. There should be a standard. There should be a uniformity. For standard, we can also say uniformity. It should be perfect and same, and that will have a safety for the customers and also trust for the business. So what does this act do? It will establish and enforce standards of different weights and measures. It could be simple weights and measures like these images which I have shown you, or it could even be something which is used for industrial use or something which is very big. I want to measure 1,000 tons. So for that we have a different kind of machine. Or I want to measure something very small, that let's say 1 ml, half ml. So that is also a measuring tool. So we need to have the standard, we need to have the uniformity, we need to have the same practices, and that is what this act does. Second thing what this Legal Metrology Act does is it will regulate trade and commerce in weights, measures, and goods sold or distributed by weight, measure, or number. Anything. It could also be number. So if you go and say give me 5 packets of urea. So urea is basically a fertilizer which is used for farming, correct? So each packet may be 100 kgs. So like that, you have to make sure that whether you sell in weight, measure, or number, it should be perfect, and this act takes care of this. Let us come to the definitions of this act. There are 2 important definitions we should know. First thing is, what is legal metrology? I told legal metrology is an international terminology, international word. So we say legal metrology is that part of metrology which treats units of weightment and measurement. So the first thing you need to know is that it is a measuring tool. This legal metrology talks about different measuring tools, and it is having methods of weightment and measurements. That means, how do we do the weights and measures? Weighing and measuring of instruments. So what are the different instruments and what is allowed, what is not allowed? In relation to the mandatory technical and legal requirements, with the object of ensuring public guarantee of security and accuracy of the weightments and measurements. So legal metrology, section 2 subsection G of the Act says that it is nothing but the units, the different units, the different methods and the different instruments. So we can say it is units, then the different methods and the different instruments. What instruments? All the instruments which we have for any measuring tools. It could be weights or measures, and this could be technical and legal requirements. So technical requirement is what is the scientific requirement, what is the exact metric. So if you say 1 kg, it should be exactly 1 kg and not 800 grams, correct? Legal requirement is as per the law. This legal metrology talks about the legal requirement also. Then with the objective, why is legal metrology there? What is the object? Why? The question is, why do we have it? Security, public guarantee and security. People should be assured, if I am paying for 1 liter milk, I am actually getting 1 liter and not 900 ml or 800 ml. I should not be having a loss. Then accuracy of the weightment. So it should be perfect. So now suppose even if you buy a chips packet, it is 42 grams. You are paying money for 42 grams. You should not get 30 grams. Correct? You are having 12 grams loss, and it is a criminal act. The company cannot give you 42 grams on the cover and give you only 30 grams. So this is very, very strictly regulated by the Legal Metrology Act, and this is the definition of legal metrology. Next is label. What is a label? Label is basically on any packet or any packaging you would have given whatever is written, marked, stamped, printed, graphic matter which is affixed to or appearing upon pre-packaged commodity. So whatever you see, whether it is a simple biscuit packet or something which is much huge, whatever it is, the label should have the correct measure, the label should have the correct unit, and the label should tell the correct weight. Apart from that, also things like what is the due date, you might have seen best before 6 months from date of package. So all this is compulsory, and that is what should be on the label. Now let us move to chapter 2 of this particular act, Legal Metrology Act of 2009, and that is Standard Weights and Measures, section 4 to 12. First is section 4. What are the units of the weights and measures which we have to use? The units have to be according to the metric system. We have already studied in school what is the metric system. So the unit of weights or measurement should be according to the metric system, which is based on the international system of units. So we cannot use any other system except the metric system, and we use the metric system mainly for uniformity, because internationally this is the practice. So if we also follow, it is very good, especially in international trade, because now everything is become a global economy. Before it was a local economy, now it is completely global economy. It is good to have uniform and standard practices across the globe. Same way we have in accounts also IFRS. It is a common way of accounting. It is accounting standards which is uniform across the world. That is why even in the Legal Metrology Act we need to use a universal system, which is the international system of units, which is the metric system. What are the base units of weights and measures? Section 5 gives us, this is something like back to school science. Length is always by meter, mass is always by kg, then time is by second, electric current is by ampere, temperature is by Kelvin, luminous intensity is by candela, amount of substance is by mole, and these are the respective symbols. So this is what section 5 is telling. We have to measure. I want to measure the length of a particular room. I have to measure by meter as per the Legal Metrology Act. Now if I want to measure the mass, so I want to have 1 kg packet of a simple thing like rice. So it has to be measured by kg. So this is what we need to understand. Section 6 talks about the base unit of numeration. Unit of international form of Indian numerals. So what is Indian numerals? That is 1, 2, 3, that one, right? So we need to use Indian numerals, and 0 is the main number which gives meaning to all the numbers. We cannot use in any other language. It should be in English, and it has to be international form of Indian numerals. Every numeration should be according to decimal system, like 5.3, then 8.6. So the decimal system has to be followed, and the decimal multiples and submultiples of the numerals have to be written and denominated in the manner as per the act. So this is very simple, nothing great to be understanding. It is just that we need to use the correct weights and measures, and the numeration should be as per the Indian numerals. Standard units of weights and measures, we talk about section number 7. Base unit has to be the standard unit as specified under section 5, that is for weights and measures, and for numeration the base unit has to be the standard unit. So let us have a look at it. Central government will prepare or cost to prepare objects or equipments for deriving the value of the base and also the other units in section 5. The central government has the authority to do it. Then even our numeration, we need to have clearly what are the physical characteristics, configuration, then constructional details, materials, equipments, performance, tolerance, period of re-verification, method of procedure, test, everything. You don't have to remember this for exam. You should generally know what are the standards of weights and measures, which is for numeration and weights, which is prescribed by the rules of this particular act. Now let us go to section number 8. Weight or measure which conforms to the standard weight, and section 7 shall be the standard weight or measure. So if we are following with section 7, that will be the final. Numeral conforming with provisions of section 6 shall be the standard numeral. So if it is as per section 6, we can use that numeral whenever we measure, whenever we count relating to any business activity, any product, any service, not necessarily only one kind of service or one kind of product. No weight or measure shall be manufactured or imported unless it conforms to the standards of weights and measure. So we have to manufacture anything. So even if it is your weight which we have like this 1 kg weight and all that, even that has to be as per the Legal Metrology Act. But there is some exceptions. First one is anything which is only for export, and any article which is for scientific investigation. So if there is some product which I am manufacturing, it is only for export, then I can manufacture it as per the requirement of that country. So that country is having, now let us say for example Australia. So in Australia, suppose they have the measure of ounce or pounds. Here we use kgs mainly, correct? So if I am doing the export to Australia, the export to Australia, that time my weights and measure can be as per Australian standard, because the manufacture is done exclusively. The word here is exclusively. It is exclusively for export. Then I don't have to conform with the Indian Legal Metrology Act, because I'm exporting those weights, those measuring tools, or for the purpose of scientific investigation or research. Again, for scientific investigation or research, it is not for the general business. So we may have the standards, weights and measures which is not as per the Act. These are the two exceptions. Only the standard, weight, measure or numeral shall be used as the standard, weights, measure or numeral. So only the standard weight which is as per the Act, which is approved by the Act, should be used. Other things should not be used as per section 8. Now let us look at the reference, secondary and working standard. On the payment of fees, standards have to be verified and stamped. So what is this? So reference standard, secondary standard, working standard are the three kinds of standards. So reference standard is for comparison with other standards. Secondary standard is to get the confirmation. Okay, and the working standard is what is finally which is in the market and which can be sold. This is the requirement as per section 9. So on payment of fees, standards have to be verified and stamped. So now if I tell, even if it's something as simple as an auto meter, it should be as per the Legal Metrology Act, because auto you are paying, taxi you are paying based on the distance which you are traveling. So it should be proper. Many times when you go in auto, you will tell meter is not correct, and in some cities meter is not even used. So we need to have a standard measure. If there is no measure, there is no meter. If you say 1 kilometer, auto driver may say give me 200 rupees, but it may be just 30 rupees or 20 rupees. So if we have a proper meter, it will be standard. Also, this meter has to be as per standards which is prescribed by the Legal Metrology Act. Standard which is not verified and stamped shall not be a valid standard. So if it is not prescribed, even if it is auto meter which is not stamped, it will not be valid. So the auto driver has to pay a fees for the standards and it has to be verified and stamped. Same way, even a factory, I gave a simple example of auto because you would have gone in auto. Whether it's a factory, manufacturing unit, retail, wholesale, whichever, or even the manufacturers of the weights and measures, they have to make sure that the standards are verified and they are stamped. Only then it can be used. And that is how the government can control this entire procedure. Prohibition of quotation, etc., otherwise than in terms of standard units. So whenever there is a business, the first step in the business is we send a quote. Based on the quote, the client will give the approval. If he is not happy, he will ask you to reduce the quote, whatever. So whenever a quote is given, no person shall relation to goods, things or service. That means nobody in India can give a quotation, that is quote, which will make announcement by word or mouth or any charge, or prepare or publish advertisement or any other transaction, indicate the net quantity or issue or exhibit price list, invoice, etc. This cannot be done without the correct approval. So any quantity or dimension otherwise in accordance with the standard unit of weight, measurement or numeration. So no person shall in relation to goods or service will be able to give any form of quote which we discuss here without the proper approval. Now if anybody has any custom, usage or practice which is opposite of what is written in the Legal Metrology Act, that will be completely void. It has no legal validity. It has no legal validity. It is completely void. So any custom, any usage, any practice, any method of whatever nature which is demand or cost to be demanded, receive or cost to be received, any quantity of article, thing or service, it could be goods or service, whatever it could be, in excess of or less than the quantity specified or the number in the contract, it is void. It is completely void. So I'll give you a very simple example. Now suppose there is a biscuit packet, very simple. Suppose they say that this biscuit packet is 200 grams. Suppose it is only 170 grams. That is 30 grams lesser. So if this is there, it is completely void. So it should be as specified by the weight, where on the label of the biscuit packet. So this is how it works.